So to me, and this is why I love the way I work with astrology is using it as a
Mm-hmm.
framework that really gives us permission to dive into these parts of ourselves that we might tend to shy away from because we underestimate ourselves. We have whether they are what we would might label and negative or bad emotions, even though no emotion is negative or bad, but
Right?
we might
Yeah.
associate it that way. Or it may just be an emotion that feels overwhelming, like we feel like we are going to like burst, or that it's just heavy, like it's just overwhelming us in some way. And we tend to get scared when things feel that way and push the emotion away from us as
Mm-hmm.
fast as possible, and there's lots of different ways we do that. But I think if we can give ourselves permission to sit with the emotion, we actually will find that we are more capable than we realize and that we're safe. We are not going to get lost in it.
Mm-hmm.
That it is safe to sit with how we feel and that we will actually develop a deeper relationship with ourselves and a stronger relationship with ourselves, where when we are overwhelmed by this grief or whatever feeling feels enormous and all encompassing, like we instead of feeling like, oh, I'm going to drown or I'm going to get
Mm-hmm.
lost in this,
Mm-hmm.
we realize we are our own anchor,
Mm.
and that we can feel the emotion and still be safe because we are anchoring ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love what you said that we are our own anchor. And this takes me back to probably, God, at least 10 years ago, where I was in a space where it felt like if I were to experience the depths of the emotions I was experiencing at that time, I would succumb to it. I wouldn't be able to come out of it. And I did have experiences like that where the emotion was so overwhelming that it took me days or weeks to come out of that heaviness I was experiencing, but I came out of it. I
Right.
eventually did. And I've had experiences like that in the last couple of months where either something has happened with me physically or emotionally. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to continue forever. And it doesn't. Everything is temporary. And so I've had to remind myself of that. So I love what you said about reminding yourself that you are your own anchor, which comes back to trusting yourself, knowing that you're safe, and being able to, at least for me, and I'm curious for you too, being able to know those things has required me to dive in. You actually have to experience things. You have to take a risk. You have to put yourself in that uncomfortable, what feels like an uncomfortable emotion or moment for yourself to know I'm actually okay. Like I
Yes,
can do it. And I think we forget that. We think, I know I'm walking away. I'm not doing this
exactly.
thing. But you got to try. You got to put yourself out there and do it.
Yeah. The thing I try to remind myself is whenever I'm feeling that discomfort where I'm like,
Mm,
this doesn't, it's like putting on a shirt that's like a little too small, like it's uncomfortable. Um, that means I'm on the right track. That means I'm
yeah.
pushing myself beyond my comfort zone just a little bit. And that's how we grow. That's how we learn more things about ourselves. That's how we develop a deeper relationship with ourselves and feel more peace and security and more at home with ourselves at the end of the day.
Hmm. Hmm. I
So
love
it's
that. Yeah, it's a good analogy. Like it just means you're trying. Like you're trying to fit yourself into new spaces or different spaces. And eventually, that t-shirt will give a little,
mhm,
right? It'll loosen up. Just like any situation will give a little and loosen up. I love that analogy.
yeah.
I'm curious because the series is about lessons and lessons in what it is that you've experienced or who you are, all those good things. And I feel like you did touch on this, but what have you learned, I guess, about yourself through incorporating the moon into your soul care? Let's say soul care because it really is soul care into this toolbox. What have you learned about yourself, or is there a lesson that has really stood out for you?
Yeah. So for me, it's definitely that it's funny. I actually posted this on Instagram recently, not even
Hmm.
connecting the dots, was that one thing I've learned about like sudden change, it doesn't have to be sudden change, but change in general, it either brings you to your knees or brings you to your power. And what I meant by that was you develop such a deep relationship with yourself when you allow yourself to get to know all the parts of you and all your emotions instead of kind of shoving them down or saying, these are uncomfortable. I don't want to look at this. Um, you get to know more of who you are. And that really just kind of overflows into the rest of your life, where you're able to kind of live the rest of your life as you keep going with, um, it really helps you feel all your emotions more. It's, letting yourself feel your grief lets you feel your joy. They go hand
Mhm.
in hand. We can't just cling to one side and ignore the other. If we're trying to block a certain emotion, that's going to block all the rest too. And
Right.
so to really have a rich and full life, we really do need to let ourselves feel these feelings and be a little uncomfortable.
Hmm.